basically Aguero's responsible for your sobriety.
Aguero is responsible. Download it in a format where I could turn it off and on.
Sweet, I love it. Having a great time. Do you know what I mean? I was
no idea what you're talking about.
The whole thing was great. Do you know what I mean? I thought I have no recollection of that drop at all. But they were that into it that they understood it in such a way. Have you not listened to his book? No. Oh man, she goes crazy at him. She kills him.
I started supporting a charity, the National Association for Children of Alcoholics. Yeah, look, addiction's been at the centre of my life ever since I can remember. My dad was an alcoholic. Yeah, I think it did, but I didn't realise the effect, right? Because we did what any British family would do, which is swept it under the carpet, and within a week of it happening, pretending it hadn't happened.
Hi guys, my guest today is Josh Connolly, author of It's Them Not You, How to Break Free of Toxic Parenting and Reclaim Your Story, which has been doing really well. I had amazing feedback, lots of people getting triggered by it, but in a good way, and really making positive changes within their life and understanding what's happened to them when they were kids, and not letting it disempower them, but letting it empower them. So it's really amazing to have this person. He's doing great work all over the UK. He's also a breathwork facilitator, he's an author, super amazing journey that he's been on to change his life, turn his life around, step into his abundance, step into his divine masculine, own his story, and it's really beautiful to have him on the podcast. Enjoy the show. It is an absolute belter. Should we do a little blessing on the cacao first? Right, brother. Hold it to your heart. So just calling in the beautiful spirit of Lady Cacao, Vish Cacao, of Cacao Deva, of our Guru Keith, of all the SRF, Yeshua Bhagavan Krishna Mahavatar Babaji Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yuktashwa, Paramahansa Yogananda. Calling in the divine feminine Isis, Kali, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Aphrodite, calling in Saraswati, calling in Lakshmi for that overflowing abundance for all the people that we come on this show, that all the people that we connect with, for all sentient beings, grounding us into Gaia, into Mother Earth, into the crystalline grid of this planet, making us feel grounded, making us have these foundations, our roots going deep into the earth, bringing that through, up through all our chakras, calling on the highest vibrational energy to come through us now, calling upon all our chakras to be open, active now, asking the divine's love to come through us now and set within our heart chakras, and just blessing this podcast with Josh for the highest and best for both of us, for the highest and best for all those involved. May our hearts be opened and blossom, and may the people that connect with this podcast really get some gems of wisdom from this podcast. So just putting our intention for the podcast from our heart into the cup of cacao. And then just repeating after me, Matiosh, Matiosh, Matiosh.
Matiosh, Matiosh, Matiosh.
Aho.
Aho.
Full power.
Full power.
And then just offering all the fruits of that up, unconditionally, to Great Spirit, to Mother, Father, God, for the great good of all sentient beings. Aho.
Aho.
Drink the cacao, brother.
Lovely.
Right, so we have got Josh Connolly on the podcast today, who is a guy that I bumped into at Om & Base Festival. Saw a little bit of his breathwork that was absolutely rammed, by the way.
It's good.
And went off, which was beautiful. And then Josh posted, I think you posted something about our cacao, and I looked into you and I was like, oh, this guy's really interested. He's smashing it. I hadn't heard of you before, and I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, Nick, we need to get this guy on the podcast. You know, seeing that you'd wrote a book that had been really successful, the things that had took off for you, that you had a really big following, your YouTube presence and everything, and I was like, be a beautiful guest, you know, aligned with, I can see some similarities on our path and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like, let's get him on the podcast. So Josh Connolly, welcome to the Full Power podcast, brother.
Good to be here, mate. Yeah. And thank you. Yeah, it's... we were just saying it's been quite hard to sort of, I've been with you for the last like 45 minutes and we've had to kind of just stick to talking about football so that we don't do the podcast.
Yeah,
so
it's like, we're going deep here, man. Let's save it.
Yeah, it was, man. It was, yeah. But no, like I was fully converted to the cacao since Om & Base. And you know what? What's interesting is, obviously I hear a lot of people talk about it and a lot of people that do it. And I've always been like a massive caffeine fiend. And it's like the one last real addictive behavior that I know that I have. Maybe not the last, but a big one. And so I've always, I think, semi-consciously avoided cacao conversations because it threatened my caffeine drinking, I think. And I was right, because I've started drinking this and I've stopped the caffeine now. So
Fully crossed over.
fully crossed over, mate. Yeah.
And what was the comment one of our staff said to you that kind of made it sink in?
Yeah, your business partner said to me that why have a cup of anxiety when you can have a cup of love?
Yeah.
It sold it to me, man. It did. I was like, yeah, all right, fill me up. Let's do it.
A full power crossover. You've crossed fully over from the caffeine from the coffee to the cacao.
Fully, mate. Yeah, fully. Every morning since I'm on base, I get up and cook it and have it. It's become a big part of my routine. Yeah.
Yeah. So addictions, you just sort of slightly mentioned addictions and stuff. So, how deep does that go then with you for addiction-wise?
Yeah. Look, addiction's been at the center of my life ever since I can remember. My dad was an alcoholic. And like a chaotic one. So, it was a crazy life when I was a child. And then from the moment I smoked cannabis first. So I got into, it was resin back then, yeah? So like
Sputnik.
Yeah, there was no weed, man, right? Wasn't, it was, we used to call it puff, yeah? So you smoke a bong, like a water pipe thing. And then quickly into alcohol, and yeah, like my love affair with anything that could alter how I felt, that could alter my reality, is something that I tend to get myself addicted to. Until things changed for me in like my early 20s. I'm very, very lucky to get sober pretty young. But yeah, I still get addicted to like behaviors or anything that can make me feel good, man. I'll end up doing it. Yeah.
And so when you was younger, was that those addictions and those things that altered your state of mind, altered your, the way of thinking, was that to escape something, or was it just to like explore?
No, looking back, it was to escape. Yeah, looking back, I really struggled with the ways that I felt. I think that so it wasn't all bad, yeah. I do believe that there was a lot of like experimenting. I often say to people that though my sort of healing journey started in 2012 when I quit alcohol, that's when I actively was participating in it. When I was down the park doing drugs in the way that I was, I do think that was still part of the journey of trying to find meaning and like trying to make sense of the world that I existed in. Yeah. Because I don't think it was just like the sort of like all the trauma from what I experienced. I also recognize now that I'm I'm highly intuitive, highly sensitive. Do you know what I mean? I've always been like that. And so, yeah, there was experimental stuff. And then there was a lot of, certainly towards my late teens, that's when it started to be, I just wanted to get off my head all the time. Yeah.
So before we talk, I want to before we talk about more of the chaos and just the story and the backstory and like your childhood and stuff, like what do you do now? Like what is your thing? Tell us about the book, tell us about the breathwork. What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah. So look, the book is built around. I started supporting a charity, the National Association for Children of Alcoholics, 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago next year. And that was all about supporting people that had grown up with parents that drink too much, right? And I realized that so much of my struggles actually made sense when I was able to see my experience in its entirety. So when I was able to see my childhood and see the things that I experienced, rather than thinking I've been like this sort of defective, broken, all these different diagnoses that I got, I realized that actually what I was doing was reacting to the world the best way that I knew how, based on my experiences. So that kind of set me on that journey of like seeing my experience and other people's experiences through that lens. And then that developed to supporting people through like, that had grown up in any kind of dysfunction. And then ultimately, the book was born off of the back of realizing that some people grow up in abusive homes, right? And in our culture, in our society, we're so bad at talking about difficult experiences, particularly when it's within the family. And so we prevent people from sort of having their ultimate truth. And so the book was born out of that, really, which was, you know, through the work that I did online, there's this whole sort of demographic of people who don't get any support, who are just told that they should love their parents no matter what, and that they have to, you know, if your abuser happens to be your parent, you still get a lot of people that will tell you that you need to try and keep a relationship with them irrespective of what abuse is. So it's a nuanced conversation, but an important one. And then the breath work, I discovered that through my struggles with meditation. When I got sober, everyone was meditating,
Yeah.
And so...
The 12 steps, did you get
12
sober
steps originally,
steps? And rehab or?
No rehab, just 12 steps.
Okay.
I'll tell you the last day, because you'll be interested. The last day I drank was when Aguero scored the last second goal to win the league. Which is lovely because...
I don't think I was drinking then.
Every year, when they show that, Aguero, it tears me up because it was the last day I drank. Because I had this moment where the pub was going crazy and I was like, realised that it stopped working for me, you know what I mean?
And so you was actually drunk in that situation, but so basically Aguero's responsible for your sobriety. Aguero is responsible. Aguero, or you could argue Joey Barton, maybe. But I'll take Aguero. Well, let's have Aguero.
Yeah, but I do remember that, like, you know, people talk about moment of clarity, right? I remember looking around the pub and thinking, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it.
Yeah, done.
And it was, the reality is that drink had stopped working, So, but I got in 12 steps, and then the people that I started sort of knocking about with as a result of trying to be sober, everybody talked about meditation, Now, I'm not, like, I've always struggled with meditation per se, as we're described that it is, right? Sitting in stillness with my eyes closed. I've always struggled with it. And I was going around to people and I was like, how do you meditate? And people would say like, oh, it's a personal journey. And I'd be like, yeah, but fucking just tell me how you do it. So I can try and copy you and see if that becomes my... And what I realized is that a lot of people that say they meditate are not meditating. Right?
They're just sitting still.
Or they're fucking not doing it at all and they just say that they're doing it in the morning. You know, right? Because it's like the thing that you do. So I used to sit in the sauna because I found that sort of battling against the heat meant that I could sit, I'd get in there and think I'm going to do 20 minutes. And basically, long story short, I had ended up having like a breathwork experience in the sauna because I must have been connecting my breathing and breathing in that sort of connected way. And it was through there, talking to somebody and saying I had this big experience that I realised it was breathwork, and the rest is sort of history on that front. As soon as I found it, I knew that I wanted to like train in it and all that kind of stuff and be able to deliver it. Because
and
like,
had you been to a breathwork like proper facilitated session by this time, or?
In the end I did. When I trained to do it, I trained with a guy called John Paul Crimmy, but I got a friend, Pat, who lives in Ireland, and he everyone's got a friend called Pat who lives in Ireland. My mate Pat, he lives in Ireland. I did a couple of online things with him. And that's when I realised how important it is. And what I think, the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I think the whole like sitting down one-to-one doing therapy thing is a very new, very Western way of healing, right? And I think it's great and I think people should try it.
Was it slow? Would you say it's slow?
It just doesn't really do a lot for me. It doesn't I heal and have breakthroughs in community with other people, normally shoulder to shoulder, by the way, led normally by someone, who you know, who may have some wisdom and stuff like that. But the kind of like Western sort of one-to-one setting is just not the thing that works for me. I heal in community with other people, and I heal by being in my body. I'm a big believer that my body holds the wisdom, and again, in Western culture, I think we rationalize the shit out of everything. And I think a lot of it is just emotional suppression.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a new way of rationalizing it. Because I was always taught, like, take my dad, for example, right? When I lost him when I was a kid, I was taught and shown to get to a place where I could be like, it wasn't his fault. He struggled with addiction. It was nothing to do with how much he loved you. He was a good man, but addiction got the better of him.
Yeah.
All of those things are true. And my body tells a different story, which is that rationale don't quite cover my full experience.
Yeah.
So I need to find ways to be in my body and allow myself the full experience. And breathwork's like being one of the good ways that I've done it,
Yeah.
But anything somatic.
Yeah. And what's the word somatic mean? For anybody who doesn't understand it.
Well, when we talk about the soma, we're just talking about the body, right? Yeah. In layman's terms, we're talking about the full body. Come away from coming up into your mind and into the sort of rationale, like, let's try and make perfect sense of it, and be more like in my body, feelings led, letting my body tell and give me the answer. And I genuinely think that.
If you want to get 11% off every order and make sure you never run out of full power cacao, just head over to the website at checkout, hit subscribe and save. You'll get 11% off every order. It will be delivered to your door every month. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything's taken care of. So head over to the website, make that hit, and you have got this covered. Now back to the podcast, Full Power.
Well, because in yoga, everything we need is already inside us.
Yes.
So it's about shedding the things that we don't need, that maybe are stuck from traumas or things that we've collected that are stuck in the body, the psoas, the gut, whatever it may be. And it's like getting rid of that so the true us can actually blossom. It's the whole story of the lotus, coming out of the mud and being able to shine. But you've been through the mud, and that's good. And that's the elastic band theory, pulling you back into the darkness. The further you go into that darkness, the further you can extend into the light. The further you fling into the beauty.
Yeah.
So it's like to embrace that ickiness, actually purge it out of you. You can't change it. It still happened, but you don't have to be carrying it on a body level, do you?
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing here. Yeah, and I think that's what, in the sort of mental health conversation as we know it here, I think what we try to do is push that stuff that you're just talking about. We push it further down into our body and try and find just a new way to not let it come out.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this big fear. Do you know what I mean? And so
drink, drugs,
but even sex, but
food.
Or mental health conversation, which is like, so for example, in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, right? My anxiety disorder looks a lot less disordered when you look at the disordered environment in which it first existed in.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't disordered at all. Yeah. Like, it made perfect sense. And so,
based on the circumstances.
So rather than looking at me and going, there's a fault in you, and that we need to like change that and reframe it so that it's not a fault. It's like, no, let's see it. Let's, like you say, purge. Let's let it come out. Yeah. And I'm like such an absorber. I need to purge regularly. I need to do that regularly. Yeah. When I do that regularly and let my body do its thing and get my mind out of the way, which is the opposite to what a lot of Western culture wants us to do, get my mind out of the way, know that my body knows the answer. If I let it and get myself out of the way, it will do its thing. And then you learn, my experience has been that any practice that is about the body first, and in my book, there's a whole chapter, body first. Yeah. When I let my body do it, the rest, everything else falls into place. And breathwork for me, by the way, has just been, that's just the thing that resonates most with me at the moment. And that works the best for me,
And what did you find that from the breathwork you was able to meditate better, or did you just find that you was getting enough from breathwork that you didn't need to meditate?
No, so if I do a regular breathwork practice, then the meditation is something that I'm able to do. Yeah, because if it's almost it's so with the breathwork that I do, I like to do a big scream at the end of it, right? It sort of like completes that purge that you're talking about. If I'm doing that regularly, then stillness doesn't feel so scary to me.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can do more regularly. But I had to do the purging stuff first.
Yeah.
Because when I first found it, so like when I was like, I don't know, 6 years sober, maybe 5 years sober, absolute fucking expert in trauma, my life, everything that happened. I could tell you in absolute finest of detail what happened to me, why it happened to me, the impact it had on me. But I'd never dropped into my body and completed the cycle.
Yeah.
So it only took me so far,
Yeah.
which ultimately wasn't that far at all, really, looking back.
And so the breath work was clearing it in terms of an energetic, somatic way from the body, so you wasn't holding it in anymore.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
In the way that any body work does, like when I first got sober, now I look back, when I first got sober, and I think this is common for people to do this, I was like running 10K every day on the treadmill, but crying in the last kilometre, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm doing that, but it feels good and I feel lighter when I do it.
Yeah.
It's because you get into that state where I'm in my body, my mind shuts down and my body's just doing it's just somatic work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was helping me to purge and release.
And do you feel that within those purging and those releases, because people want to understand what it means, and sometimes I'm just like, you don't need to understand it. Just know that it's good that it's coming out. If you're crying and you're purging, you don't have to go into the detail of it. It's like, it's coming out, baby. It's coming out. Let it out. Let it go.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm quite passionate about with breath work and all of that stuff. And I get people, what's the science behind it? What does it mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because I ain't fucking interested. Because
I'm the same,
I'm
mate.
not interested.
Yeah.
I'm
With
not
the
interested.
CACAO,
Yeah, because by the way, science is only as good as the fucking society that exists in.
Well, then it'll change within 20 years as well.
Exactly. So like one, allow there to be a little bit of mysticism, and two, we're not supposed to make rational sense of everything all of the time. I think that's part of our fucking problem. Is that we can't let some things be. It's like if you've done a breath work and you feel amazing for a few days after it, just do it again next time that you feel like you need to do it again. We don't need but I do look. Listen, a lot of people's trauma, a lot of a lot of the stuff that's trapped in our body is to do with things that happened to us when we didn't have a rational part of our brain. Because our rational brain doesn't develop for a few years. So when my dad's smashing the house up and I'm 1 year old, that's not in my what I remember from that's not in my head. It's in my body.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'd go into a bit of a heightened anxiety state, and I think I don't know why this is. I can sit down and try and work it out, and was it this, was it that? And I'll never be able to figure it out because it's something to do with something that happened when I was 1.
Yeah.
But my body knows the crack and what it wants to do. So if I get my head out of the way and I have to do a bit of breathing to do that, then it does the job,
Exactly, man. And that's not like, that's not to science has its place, intellect has its place, people who are into that sort of stuff. But like, you're probably the same as me. Like, I don't need to know the ins and outs of a cat's arsehole to know it's a cat's arsehole.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to, well, what happened? I used to go clubbing, I used to go raving with these two guys, these two people that I live with, and they were like proper drum and bass geeks. And they would, like, we'd get home and, you'd been off your face and you'd get home and you'd be like, do you remember when he dropped that tune and he mixed it in with that at about 4 minutes in? And I was like, I was just having a great time. Do you know what I mean? I was
No
like,
idea what you're talking about.
The whole thing was great. Do you know what I mean? I have no recollection of that drop at all. But they were that into it that they understood it in such a way. But then I was like, well, that would take away some of my enjoyment because I would be waiting for things and critically analysing things. And for me, it's just like, how do I feel? Do you feel better? Like my cacao ceremonies, are people enhancing on their path? Are they getting more happiness, more bliss? Are they making positive changes in their life? That's more important than me knowing what level of anandamide and serotonin is released within the body. Do you know what I mean?
And by the way, so look, like you just said, right? I think everybody should do what works for them, right? However you make sense of your experience, I think is great. I think if science works for you, it's brilliant, right? And I have my own experience, and so I talk about it from my own experience, right?
Yeah.
We live in this world now where you kind of have to sort of like make sure that in giving your opinion, you're not saying that somebody else's is wrong. Do you know what I mean? Have your opinion, that's great. But even when people talk about dopamine and serotonin and all that kind of stuff, I think it's great. You know, there's a couple of great people online that I watch and it's interesting to listen to them. But it still doesn't fully describe my experience. Not for me.
Yeah.
When somebody says, oh yeah, so was you looking for a dopamine hit? I'm like, I might have been, but that is not what it fucking felt like when I was 19 and I was looking for a bit of drugs, It wasn't like, oh, my body just needs a bit of, I don't give a fuck if that's what's actually happening. That wasn't my experience. Do you know what I mean? So like it only nearly describes what happens anyway, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Ever take a pill when you was a kid and going, oh guys, I feel like I've got 23% of my serotonin being released at the moment. Yeah. This is really nice.
Yeah.
You're just like, I feel good, man.
When I'm clucking and I feel like if I don't find something, I'm going to literally end it all. I weren't calling up my mate saying my dopamine's low.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't fully describe my experience, right?
But there probably is people that connect with it like that.
Yeah, great.
And that's
great.
Yeah, but
I just ain't one of them. I just ain't one of them. And I also think that in my experience, if I talk about the dopamine and start thinking like that, or that if I go down that path, that's normally my, rational part of me trying to take me away from what's going on over here.
Yeah.
To not, because it's trying to keep me safe or whatever, and it doesn't want to go near the shit. And I have to go near the shit, man. Like I have to go and get that and clear it out. I have to. And actually, as the years have gone by and the older I get, that gets worse. That's hard. Like it's more, if I got something going on over here, it pains me more. As the time goes by, it pains me more and more. So I have to work even harder to make sure that I'm doing it. Yeah.
And is that what you feel as a breathwork facilitator? You're bringing in that kind of attitude of like, let's get this cleared today. Don't come back to me for 9 sessions. Let's get cleared what we can get cleared today.
Like 100%, right? So this is another thing that I say is once somebody's done my breathwork, I say to them, you can do this at home.
Yeah.
You can you don't need to pay £5,000 to go and do an amazing course to learn to go, that's it. That's all we did. You can go and do that. And I would suggest you go and do it. Yeah. And look, I know it's deep work. And you get some people that are like, it's too deep. You have to go careful with it and stuff. But them same people are out banging ketamine on the weekend with their mates. So they ain't that worried about people's health. Do you know what I mean? It's coming from a different place. And so I'm more like, let's do this. As long as you're supported in your life away from this breathwork session. So the big thing I say to people is, if you got nobody, and when you leave here, if this brings something up for you, you've got nobody that you can sit with or talk to about it, then don't do it. Yeah. But assuming that you have, and if you have, let's do it. Let's bring it up. Because if it's in there, it's in there. And it's like I always say to people, you might have a couple of days or a little while of having to really work through some shit that's come up from a breath work. Yeah. But you're going to stop shouting at your kids, or you're going to stop being horrible to your partner or whatever, because I am not a nice person when internally I'm carrying not nice stuff. I have a tendency to project that not nice stuff onto other people. Yeah. Like I think everybody does.
Yeah. So, I'm the same with yoga. If I've not practiced like a full practice for a while, I can see my behaviors slipping a little bit. It's like, right, I need to get on my mat. I need to practice, because yoga was the thing that was my crack, was the thing that saved me. Yeah. I mean, it was like you're talking about those tear moments where you just, like, I'm crying for like an hour, and I'm like, at the end of a practice, like, and it keeps happening, and I'm like, I don't know what that was about, but I feel better for it. And it's just
have you had moments as well since you did it where you don't do it for a little bit for whatever reason, because that's what happens in life and that, and then everything starts going awry. Yeah, you're acting like a bit of a dick, and like things are getting hard again, and you're like thinking, what do I need? I need something, and then you start thinking of all these extravagant things, and then you finally go, let me just do, in my case, the breathwork, or let me just do the yoga, and then see, and then you do it, and then afterwards you're like, fucking, it works every time, man. Exactly, man. It's like, why do I stop doing it? Yeah. It's funny as humans, you go looking for something else when the basics, the basic fundamental stuff that's free and easy. It's not extravagant.
You've got a toolkit. Yeah, you've got a toolkit. I'm similar in terms of like when like when we do our trainings and stuff, it's like, right, I'm going to give you a certain set of tools that are yours, memorize them, because if you've got them in your toolkit, they can save you wherever you are in the world. And you've just got, I've got this, and I've got this, and I know that it's basically like having a box of medicine.
Yeah.
But it's just a set of practices, breath work, mantra, a bit of yoga, a bit of meditation, certain piece of music. It's like, bang, you've got that in your toolkit.
Yeah.
You know you're always good.
Yeah. And you can always come back to them, like the fundamentals, when things ain't going right. I always use like a football analogy, right?
We're so similar, bro.
Yeah. When you're 3-0 down at half time, if you're 3-0 down at half time, the manager's not going, right, you do some tricks and flicks. We're going to try a whole new system, right? You're going to go up front. You start doing... The manager goes back to basics. Yeah. Everybody win your first tackle.
Solid.
Everybody play your 5-yard pass. Let's build that platform. And then if we want flicks and tricks after we've done that, we'll look at them.
Yeah.
And my life's the same, man. When I feel like I'm 3-0 down, what I start doing is, right, I fucking need some flicks and tricks, or I'm going to play up front instead of... When I need to go, right, my morning shit that I do in the morning, let me do my evening process that I do in the evening, and let me get back to my breath work and some of the processes that I go through on a day-to-day basis. And then let me see in a couple of days if I still want to... whatever the fucking spangly thing is that I think that I need in my life. Yeah. And what I find anyway, every time is... a few days back doing the things that I know work, the basics, I got the platform then to be, my life feels manageable.
It's the foundation, man.
It's
like
the foundation,
for me, it's like I can't, if I don't do my practices in the morning, like when you do the 12 steps, it's like if you don't get down on your knees, your day is not going to, and I don't know if about you, but when I was doing the 12 steps, I experimented with it. I was like, right, I'm not going to pray today. Oh, fuck it was a bit of a shit day. Yeah. I'm going to pray tomorrow. Oh, that was a better day. Yeah. And the same with my practice. Like, it's fundamental for me to practice every day. If I get in more, then brilliant. If I don't, I know that, like, right, I've done the minimum, my minimum daily requirement. Yeah. But what I noticed when you was talking then, what a lot of people do, it's like, it's pointing out there where you're going, right, it's my responsibility. It's me. It's in me. It's not something exterior. It's like, what's going on with me right now? Whereas 90% of the world's population, it's like, what's wrong with something else that's making me feel like this?
Yeah, and because you always want it to be, though, innit?
Oh, yeah.
You always want it to be something else, innit?
But it never is.
Yeah, but it never is. Yeah, because, like, I always think of the times when I start thinking of these extravagant things in my mind that I need to do, because I'm a special case or whatever, because that goes through my head.
Give us 2 extravagant things that go through your head.
Well, like, I don't know. I don't know. I need to go and fucking climb the Himalayan mountains in just shorts or something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like something stupid.
Some
like
Wim Hof shit.
Yeah, it's like I need to do something crazy because I'm different. I'm not like everybody else, because I'm trying to think of all these crazy things that I need to do because over here I don't want to have that conversation. Yeah. So I'm thinking about all these stuff. Go have the conversation. Come back to myself. Do the things in the morning, go into my body. My body knows, and the body knows. And I think a lot of people work really, really hard to stay in their head because it's too scary to be in the body. Yeah. Because it is scary to be in your body. When you got shit going on, especially if it's shit that you've caused, because I'm dysfunctional in nature, like when I go into myself, if I'm in my head on my own too long, it's fucking weird in there. I'm fucking weird, you know what I mean? And it tangles up and I do stupid shit and I don't know why I did it, and so them mornings, them processes that I do in the morning, they untangle me. They give me my power back. Beautiful. And I do think that we've almost have a bit of a like structure in our society that's built around wanting you to believe that you don't have everything that you need. Yeah. And of course there are people and circumstances where people don't have everything they need. But largely speaking, I think we have exactly what we need.
100%.
It's all here. And actually if...
The guru is within everyone.
100%. And if you look at when you look at, I know you read a lot as well. If you look at, and I've looked at lots of different spiritual texts over the years, right? Religious texts, whatever. The key theme running through all of them in some different way is that they're all telling you that God or the power, they all say it's in you.
Yeah.
And I think they're
It's in everything.
It's there. It's there. It's not out there. It's not something that you have to go out there looking for.
Yeah.
It's here. The answer's here. We just got to feel, we got to find ways to be safe, to come here. And what you find is, I'm sure you know this, but like when you do regular practices, they change from being these big sort of purges of fucking shit coming out to these freeing experiences of coming back to love. I run a men's event, right, in London. We do it once a month in London, and we do a breathwork at the end of it. And so many of the lads in there, because we get a lot of blokes that have never done anything like this before, right? We've sort of set it up that way. They'll come and they'll say things like, I came here, I've fallen out with my wife. I had so much stuff I wanted to say to her because they're up in their head. And they do the breath work, and after the breath work, they're like, I'm going to go home and tell my wife I love her because everything that I had to say to her is fucking irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because when I've released the purge of what I needed to get rid of, you come back to love, right? You come back to the summer, you come back to your body, you come back to the power, to the divine truth. Whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, it's there.
Yeah.
And I think all of these practices are built around that. And they're built around coming back to that.
Hi guys, my book Dealer to Healer is available on our website www.fullpowercacao.com. You can also get it on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, wherever you read and do your thing. It is an amazing tale of my life and my journey towards a better version of myself. All the twists and turns, all the traumas, all the funny stories, everything that's happened. It's my life story. It's supporting and inspiring lots and lots of people. So head over to the website, head over to Amazon, get the book, let us know what you think. Big love.
Yeah. So breath work, like, obviously I've been studying yoga for, 12, 13 years now. And obviously, like, the last sort of 5 years, breathwork's got really big. And I was like, one day I was like, it's just pranayama. It's just another word for pranayama, because pranayama's like on the path of yoga after asana. Is like this breath work that leads us towards meditation, like you said, it puts us in a better state, receptible state to be able to meditate. And through the meditation, that's when we receive the cosmic gifts that are ours anyway, that we connect with Ajna chakra, which is our creativity, our truth, our kind of higher self, our soul mission, all the skills from past lives and stuff like that. So why do you think that, obviously you agree it's pranayama? Yeah. And why do you think it's kind of blown up in the last 5 years? Because people need it, or something else?
I think things just blow up, don't they?
Yeah.
Every now and then. So people find something new, and then it feels very new to people. So I think there's an element of that in it. Like I always say, the best breathwork practice, by the way, is an experimental one. Like fucking work out what way breathing works best for you and feels better. And just fucking do that.
It's like music, innit? It's like, what's your favourite music?
Yeah. And then call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I do think it is like maybe growing is because for whatever reason, and this a whole nother debate that's not worth getting into now, I do feel like people are more hyperactive in their mind now. So so things like yoga or meditation can feel like a bit too much of a leap to be that still for that long. And then so breathwork feels a little bit like, to draw a comparison, like the HIIT training, where it's like, just fucking breathe in this pattern.
It's a good way in it?
Yeah, and it's a good way to then get in to stillness, because stillness feels unreachable for a lot of people. So I think there's a lot of that in it. Yeah. And then I think it's also new, isn't it? So then when people find something new, it can blow up like that. But it's always interesting when it does blow up that the people that have been involved in it before it blows up get a bit upset about it, don't they?
Yeah, man.
you can see them all quaking in their boots and not liking it because it's
kind of like when Mozart came along and all the kind of like composers that were loads older than him were just like, why can he do this? It's like, because just the timing's right. You're carrying different energy. Like if it was supposed to blow up for you, you would have blown it up, but you weren't the person that was supposed to blow it up. So it's like it's waiting for somebody else to blow it up. Like we've blown CACAO up, you're blowing up breathwork. There's other people blowing up different aspects of yoga. And in terms of like for me, like some people will say, oh, breathwork, it's just like it's on trend or it's a fad at the moment. No, it's not. These are the medicines for evolved consciousness and evolved ways of community, of society. So these yogic practices, the yogis are just like, okay, we've known this for thousands of years. You know what I mean? You don't need to. Why are you trying to tell us something new? You've given it a new name. It's like it's pranayama. It's really good for you. Regulates your blood. Can regulate your temperature. Can regulate your emotions. Can get rid of traumas. All the amazing effects of breath work. And this, like with the yoga practice as well. And that's why I love breathwork, because it's like asana, like the yoga poses. People come into it at that, just thinking it's that. They come into breathwork just thinking it's breathwork. And then this is part of yoga. Oh, what else is there to explore? Oh, I'm on the 4th step. Why am I at the 4th step? What's before it? Oh, let's go and look at the yamas and the niyamas. Let's go and look at the asana. Now let's go and look at meditation, concentration. Do you know what I mean? Relieving the senses. And that's why I think it's a mate. Like when people go, oh, it should be called this, it should be called that. It's just whatever it's called. If it's getting people into it and it's making people feel better, fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
And do it and be yourself doing it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like you say, this stuff has been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
All right. And since the beginning of the time, people have experimented and tried new ways. And, even when it, probably first ever existed, you'd have had different tribes doing it in different ways. And it wasn't because one tribe knew what they were doing and the other one didn't. It's because they did it in a fucking way that suited them and worked for them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I like say to everybody that ever comes and does my breath work, if you love it, try other breath works. If you don't love it, try other breath works. Because you might just think that mine might not be for you. There's so many people doing so many different and amazing things out there. Some of it I think's crap and it doesn't do anything for me. But that's just because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean it's bad and that you shouldn't try it. If it's bringing you into your body and it's, like you said, opening you up to the idea that maybe our bodies have the answers, then fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah, man.
I think brilliant, yeah.
And I agree. I like respect, because when you say about go to see other teachers, there's loads of teachers that are scared of saying that. And I've always said that as a yoga teacher, because I actually remember going to a yoga teacher. I was like, this guy's like, I don't really vibe off him. I don't like understand him. I don't like him as a teacher. And then he taught me something that nobody else had ever taught me. And I was like, oh, so I don't think he's a good teacher, but I've learned something really important from him. And I still teach that technique that he taught me in my classes. So I'm like, so he wasn't bad. He was just, there was something in him. So I always say there could be something in everyone that you go and see. Like for me, when I go and see, I can go and see someone I don't really vibe off what they did. However, I would do that in that way. So it's inspired me to do something in a better way. Yeah. So it's like there's no good and there's no bad. There's just opportunities for us to expand and learn everywhere. So it's like, are you prepared to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to learn how to make yourself better?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And try new things. Understand that even when I look at my own journey, I swore by certain things when I was 2 years sober that I thought I'd do for the rest of my life. And then I either outgrew them, evolved away from them, found something else. Yeah. It's not that those things were exactly right for me in that situation because they're what carried me through. You think about like pilgrimages and stuff, that people have gone on since the beginning of time. It's often because within their tribe or their community, the person who was meant to deal with that certain struggle that they had didn't seem to have the tools. And so they would always go, but yonder there's
go and have a walk and see if
in another community there is another person that does this stuff and they've got the fucking something feather or whatever,
exactly,
I'm making it up, and then you'd go on a pilgrimage and it wouldn't be like, don't go and use them up there because we're the only right ones. It'd be like, go and explore. So then you go explore. That's what life's supposed to be, man.
Yeah, man.
You're supposed to explore. Like, it should be fun. It should be. We should be happy that there's so many And if some of them are like bad or ill-intentioned, I used to get caught up on that. You know, it's dangerous and all that. And now I just think people will find the right thing. People will find the right thing. And you'll always have charlatans. You'll always have people out there that have, you know, got ulterior motives, but...
And that's part of the process to figure out their charlatans.
Exactly.
Because if you've not figured it out, like, they're not charlatans.
Exactly,
and,
yeah. Because people talk a lot about, like, regulation and that, right? Which sounds great initially, but then ultimately, as soon as you start regulating something, you're pulling a group of people together with opinions to decide what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then they'll regulate, and then they, you know, they stop they make certain things wrong. Well, that's only their opinion and their views. So I don't want them to decide what's right and wrong for me. Why don't we empower one another to feel strong enough that if I come and try a class and think, my body don't feel good around this person, so I'm going to listen to my body because it's normally right. It might be a me thing, might be an them thing, but I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to go find someone else to do it.
It's not a vibrational match.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right.
And that's okay. We're not supposed to love and like everybody.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And so I think if we can do that, then you don't, like, regulation becomes...
But regulation subdues creativity and expansion. It puts you under a certain remit, and it's like you can't go beyond this. So if you feel like inspired during a session, and you go, oh, what if I just drop this in here? It's like, oh no, because the rule book says I can't, so I might get thrown off the society if I do that. And actually that thing that you wanted to do is going to change that person's life, but I've got to be in line with the society, otherwise I won't have my certificate. And that's what I said as a yoga teacher. I was teaching yoga before I was qualified to people, and they were like, you're a brilliant yoga teacher. I was good at teaching, but I didn't have a certificate. But then when some people said you can't teach at this place because you've not got a certificate, I was like, yeah, but these people are loving my classes.
Yeah.
And then I realised, I went, but what about the first person that was teaching?
Yeah.
They didn't have a certificate.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't have a certificate.
Yeah.
But Sabi Joyce didn't have a certificate. You know, Krishnamacharya didn't have a certificate.
And like, by the way,
I've got a certificate.
Exactly. And if you were a charlatan, right, who wanted to, who was not a very nice person and was doing it for the wrong reasons, what's the first thing you're going to do? Get a fucking certificate.
Exactly, man. Exactly. It's like when you was at school, there was people, they were all trained teachers. Some of them were shit and some of them were brilliant.
Exactly.
Because they could teach.
Exactly.
They both had the same qualification.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
You know what's more dangerous than you teaching yoga before you've got a certificate? Is somebody having a certificate and then us all being led to believe that because they've got a certificate, that we should have ultimate trust in them.
Yes.
It's fucking way more dangerous.
Exactly,
but let's talk about that. You know what I mean? But people, I think a lot of that is driven by ulterior motives in many cases, and you know, at the risk of sort of upsetting people, I think
you can't upset anybody. That's their choice to be upset.
Yeah. If you're, it's your fucking fault.
Everything is, man. It's like like we're in this society of like being offended. It's like nothing's ever. If it's offensive, that thing, then everybody would be offended by it.
Yeah.
But that other guy's not offended by it, so it's not the thing that's offensive. It's your past situation in life that is visualizing that event and being offended by it based on your traumas.
And by the way, that feeds into a lot of what we're talking about in terms of like how we make sense of our distress in the world today as well, right? Like Western medicine has been amazing for like physical struggles, right? Because you know, diabetes and stuff like that. There's medications that mean that.
Or if you've been in a car crash, it's great to fix your leg.
There'd be so many more people would be dead if it wasn't for that. And when we're talking about the way that we make sense of our internal world, there's no physical markers for a lot of what we now diagnosed as a mental health problem or a mental disorder. There's no physical markers, right? So if you've got diabetes, you'll go to the doctor, you say, I feel drowsy, or whatever the symptoms are. I feel drowsy, I don't know, what, and no appetite. I don't know what happens when you've got diabetes. The doctor goes, it sounds like diabetes, takes a blood test, and then in your blood it goes, oh, your symptoms, now we've taken a test, you see you've got diabetes. You go and say, I feel depressed. The doctor says, you say, I feel down all the time. The doctor says, oh, it's depression. And you go, well, how do you know it's depression? He says, well, because you feel down all the time. You go, yeah, but why do I feel down all the time? Oh, because you're depressed. So you're caught in this loop. And so what people seem to not, this doesn't mean anybody's experiences aren't real or aren't really strong in how they feel. But as soon as we start making sense of how you feel, with no physical markers, there's no physical test to do, we are basing somewhat on opinion.
Yeah.
There is a group of people somewhere that have sat round a table and decided what depression is. One of the newest disorders is generalized grief disorder, right? Which is a disorder that is created. Somebody has decided how long you should feel grief for. So as soon as you start doing that, you're into opinion. It doesn't mean those opinions are wrong, but it does mean that they are opinions.
Yeah.
It was only 1960 something when to be gay stopped being a disorder.
Yeah.
So that's not very long time ago. So if in 1959 you went around saying, I think like being gay as a disorder don't make sense, I don't think that's an illness, you would have been like, no, you're going against the science. What are you talking about?
Yeah. You'd been thrown out of the science
so
society.
Until there's physical markers, when there's no physical markers, we are to some degree talking about opinion, right? And so I think in a lot of cases what we're talking about is distress.
Yeah.
Like when I feel really depressed, when I have a prolonged feeling of not feeling very good, it's normally a reaction to something that's going on in my internal world, and it's distress. It's not,
But you see, like when them feelings, like if I get feelings that I would associate with depression now, I know it's a gift, because I know I feel depression is a gift because it's showing me that my life's not in alignment with how it should be.
Yeah.
So I then go searching, right, what do I need to shift? What do I need to change? But now, because I've got the tools and I've got the skills, I can identify and look at my life and go, right, I need to get rid of that. I need to stop doing that. I need to get rid of that. Am I going to feel better?
And that's the difference, right? Is because you've found a way to arm yourself with the correct tools now. It can feel like a gift.
Yeah.
And that's what's such a shame, I think, in Western culture, is that so many people get depression and are just told,
it's bad.
It's just something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, there's nothing that you can do other than, you've got depression, like as if it's like a cold that just comes and goes, right? So then it's not a gift at all. If you're in depression and you feel hopeless and helpless, it's totally not a gift. And yet, if you arm somebody with the tools to be able to feel like they can explore what it is, listen to it, and respond to it, then it is a gift. Yeah,
man.
But the wrong people get rich if you do that bit.
Totally.
Not to be too controversial, but it's true, right?
But no, totally true. That's what I teach. It's like if you're depressed, it's a great start, because when people go, oh, everybody's like going crazy, there's a mental health crisis in the world, it's like, yeah, because the world's pretty mad. So there should be if there wasn't a mental health crisis, we'd all be absolutely mental.
Exactly.
So it's like observing it, and that's why people are struggling. However, that's why there's this opening, this awakening of yogic practices, of alternative therapies, of go within or go without. It's like everything's within us, like we've said. But I just want to, like, before I want to go back into your like rock bottom moment in a minute, like where a lot
before we get ourselves cancelled talking about.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're not going to start talking about that. But when you were chatting about like ADHD and like identifying things within schools and these labels, like for me, those labels, like at school, are associated with a school environment. If that kid was in a forest school, he would be a highly like productive, like one of the star pupils, because he was in a forest. Yeah. It's like when the Aboriginal kids, they were taking them and putting them in normal Western schools, and they were like, they can't behave. It's like, yeah, because they're used to being out in the bush. Yeah. So it's like it's a label based on a way of being in a certain environment that doesn't suit everybody. So it's like, oh, well, because that doesn't suit you, we're going to give you a label. But actually, like when I was like diagnosed with being dyslexic at a really young age, but I wouldn't go into those classes because I was like that. I felt intelligent. I'm like, I'm not stupid. I wouldn't have it until I went to uni, and they said, if you go and do the dyslexic test, you can get a free computer. I was like, where do I go? You know what I mean? I was like, I get a free laptop. You're like, yeah. I was like, well, that's fine. Well, where do I go?
Where do I go?
But I was, you're an adult then. Yeah. When I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
But like when I was labelled when I had these labels, I was like, the person who wasn't dyslexic sat next to me at school. I was like, let's go outside and have a race. I'll lever you at that. Yeah, I might get my D's and my B's mixed up, and I can't spell very well, but let's go and do some sport. I'll smash you. Yeah. And you're going to get a label for like being not good at sport.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is. Look, and I think that I think that we do that a lot, right? We do a lot of like labeling the individual when their issue is in relationship to the environment, right? And again, it's not to say that those people's struggles are not real. They're very, very real, and it's very difficult for them. I do believe, though, that there is an issue in that when you label the individual, and like you say, their problems only exist in relationship to the environment, it's the environment that has the problem. And if that happened in any other, so look at the dysfunctional family systems that I do a lot of work with. You'll have, like, let's say that the parent is toxic or alcoholic, addict or something, right? What they will tend to do is label one of the kids as being the problem because they don't want to look at their issue. And I think that's what we see on a societal level now, which is like we've created this system and then we're going to put you in it from 5 years old. And if you don't fit in that system adequately, right, then we're going to label you as the problem. And then you have to also add in the fact that the brain is developing at its fastest rate in those initial years, right? And your brain develops based on its environment. And so if you're put into a system that really just makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, your brain's going to develop abnormally. And look, if you think about any other environment, right? Stick with me, but I'll give you like an analogy thing here, right? If you went to an island that was the only dogs lived on, right? And when you got there, all of these dogs were like killing themselves and hurting themselves and acting all crazy. Your first thought would be, who the fuck raised these puppies? What happened to these dogs when they were growing up? Because they're all crazy. Like any other animal on the planet, if they act crazy, we look at their environment and their upbringing. But with humans, act crazy or erratic, we label you. There must be a problem with you. There's a really good picture, I don't know if you've seen it, of a koala bear. You seen this? And it's there's like all these trees and they've got nothing left on them, right? They've all been farmed. And there's a koala bear just hanging off of one of these trees and its eyes are popping out of its head and it looks all crazy. And there's a doctor next to it pointing at it going, I think this koala bear's got a mental health problem. And it's like, no, it fucking hasn't.
You've just got chopped all
You've
these
just
trees
fucking
down.
ruined its environment. And so I think my belief is that we have like a social health problem, right? We have a problem with the way that we're living.
But because there's part of me that feels that all that's going on is the thing that's leading us to that deeper internal investigation, which is what is needed right now. So society and the family unit is being destroyed within the West so that we can actually go deeper on our own spiritual journey, that we almost feel like isolated, that the family's broke down, that nothing's working. We have we don't have religion, we don't have any. It's like, what the hell are we? Why am I here? There's so many people in the West where we're going, why are we here? And maybe that dysfunction is the basis of that exploration, because I know it was for me. It felt like I wanted to explore. It's like, none of this is working for me. I don't feel, maybe similar to you, I didn't feel like I had a family unit that was strong, that I was part of. I felt like I was kind of on my own. And it was like, right, that made me then go and discover and search. So in a way, it's kind of a blessing that dysfunction was there, because it made me go searching.
The one thing that I can say looking back retrospectively is that the greatest moments of my journey, without exception, have been born out of what feels like the darkest moments.
Oh yeah, always. Your greatest gifts are always wrapped up as your worst nightmares in disguise.
And that's always been the case. That's always been the case for me. So yeah, look, maybe like we can hope that the fucking shit show that it feels like we're in is the beginning. Look, and I do think that, look, there is
the
always
amount
that
of people that are coming to your sessions, the amount of people that are going to everything, the way it's yoga, everything, spiritual, breathwork, mental health has just boomed in the last 5 years. It's beautifully positive, man.
Yeah, I do think that. Yeah, it's definitely true, and you know, I think like the Western sort of mental health conversation has got it so wrong that people are now starting to think, I need to look elsewhere, because what I'm doing is just doesn't work. It's not working. I don't feel any better. I don't feel any different. So yeah, let's hope maybe in 10 years' time we'll be living a little bit better.
8 years, mate. 2032. 5D crossover.
Okay.
It's happening, man. And it's interesting that you, like, we'll go back to 2012 now, but you said that's when you stopped drinking. 2012 was when you kind of really started making the change. 2012 was the cosmic moment, the end of the Mayan calendar, the crossover from, the start of the crossover from 3D into 4D, and then we go fully 5D in 2032.
Fucking hell.
From the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, from the age of the masculine to the age of the feminine, loads of things have shifted. If you think about all the pubs that you used to go in when you was a kid, how many of them are still there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All this old ways of being is disappearing, and it's really, really beautiful. So talk to me about, actually, when you were saying before about when Aguero scores that goal, when you see it and you have a tear, like, how does that make you feel? Is it super positive? You feel like that was the moment, or is it like, oh, it was a bit sad?
It's more reflective. It's more just brings me straight in. It brings me straight into my body, into my like emotional center.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's not.
Do you feel proud of that moment, of that choice?
Yeah. It's taken me a while, I think, to get to a place of feeling proud.
Yeah.
But I do feel proud. I do feel proud, and I feel grateful that I know who I am today. I know who I am today more than I've ever known who I am. And sort of, I guess the evolution in more recent years is that rather than thinking that I desperately need to keep working towards being this amazing person, I'm much more accepting and loving of just exactly who I am. Like warts and all, you know, like when I mess up.
Yeah.
Like, because I am
you're human.
I'm human, yeah. I'm a human, you know. And like we're sort of taught, you know, learn from your mistakes and all that kind of stuff. And I think, I don't even know if I fucking do that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I do that. But what I do know is that I do know and truly believe that in my heart, in my core, my intentions are good.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get skewed somewhere along the way, and I do things and be things that I wish I wasn't. But today, I think I can love myself most of the time through that. And that's huge, you know, because like, I always say this, like our value exists because we exist, right? You're born with love, right? When a baby is born, if you think about like what the ultimate of love is, when a baby is born, like no real true parent would hold a baby and think, I can't wait until you make something of yourself so I can love you.
Yeah.
Or I can't wait until you get a job so you're of value.
Yeah.
You hold it and it just is love, no matter what it is. And then a parent should love you through all of your, you know, jealousy, ragefulness, anger, all of that. You should still get loved. And so the ultimate goal is to be able to love yourself in all of your emotions, not reach a stage where you don't have certain ones so that you can be lovable, because that's wrong. Yeah, it's like, how do I love myself in all? And I think most days I do all right at that.
And you've had a few babies. You've experienced that a few times, haven't you?
Yeah. I
thought my missus had a lot.
I got 6, yeah.
Wow.
So my eldest is 18.
Right.
My eldest is 18, and then my other daughter's 17.
Amazing.
And then my youngest 2 are 6 and 8. So this is the first time in my life, in my adult life, that I haven't had a child under the age of 6.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's chaos, man.
Yeah, man. And yeah, so yeah, mate, they get...
And now you've got an adult kid.
Yeah, my daughter lives with us. She's...
Brilliant.
But yeah, man, like, all of that's part of it, isn't it? That's all part of the experience. And, you know, my life's changed so dramatically from, especially like my eldest daughter, she's 18 now. She was 6 when I quit drinking alcohol. Yeah. She lived until my life sort of, you know, abundance, material stuff started coming into my life in maybe the last 4 or 5 years. So she was like 12, 13, my eldest daughter. She just lived with no, the answer being no to everything. Because we never had, I never had anything. I've never had like money or anything. Never had anything. And so she's lived that life up until her teenage years. And now she lives this life where it's sort of changed, you know. I just bought her a car, and she's out driving and stuff like that. So yeah, she's lived these 2 completely different lives, you know, which is amazing for her. Yeah. Then you got my youngest 2 who have never known any different than the life that we live today.
So that's going to be interesting seeing them grow up, because I've like read a lot of books about like parents who've had kids under different like economic situations, and how the ones that have always known it as like we've always been able to have what we want have got a totally different attitude when they become adults on how to function. So it'd be interesting to just observe
see what they're like with adults,
yeah.
because the things that my youngest two say is way different to what my older two say.
Yeah.
My older two will still always ask, can we have this? Is it? Whereas my younger
expecting.
My younger two are like, some of the shit they say, I'm like, fucking remember who we are, mate. Do you know what I mean? Remember who we are. You go careful.
Where we're from,
you go careful with that attitude. Yeah. Even like my daughter was like, my mum took her out, and my daughter was like, oh, we went to McDonald's, and she's like, it was really cute because Nanny didn't quite have enough money for us to get a normal meal, so we had to get a Happy Meal. She's like, and it was only like £30. I was like, that's a lot of money, mate. That's a lot of money.
Isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then like my other daughter, it's like, you coming to football this weekend? She's like, is it a stadium? I was like, who do you think you are, man? Is it a stadium? Fucking yeah. But
so with I keep trying to get back to this rock bottom moment.
Sorry,
but
mate.
No. I want to stay where we are actually, because because cacao and everything we do is about abundance. Like I had a big abundance journey. It was a big kind of like purge for me in terms of old attitudes and old paradigms and trying to get rid of them. So for you, like you said, you've only really stepped into sort of having abundance and being able to do things with money for the last 4 years. Did you like set yourself a target to be more abundant, or did it just happen?
So what happened is, to give you the moment when things changed, right? I stopped, because this is a journey to this place. I stopped drinking, and then about 9 months, I was 9 months sober when I planned to take my own life. Mm-hmm. Because I'd stopped drinking, and then all of the feelings come back and I couldn't deal with them. And then as a result of that, all of the behaviors, some of the things where I used to say, well, I only did that because I was drinking, I'm doing them sober now.
Right, okay.
So then it's a real problem. Yeah, because I hadn't changed. And because I was gonna end it all, I went to see my kids. And because I knew I was going to die, the past became irrelevant, future was non-existent, and I was present with the kids for the first time ever. And that's when my life changed, I remember cuddling my daughter and feeling it, and I had this real moment of presence. And then it was after that weekend that my path and my journey really did change. But about 5 years, 6 years sober, I was still working in the factory, and I was depressed. Felt down all the time, hated my job. I had no qualifications. I was transport manager, so financially I was doing all right. My last daughter had just been born. And I knew I wanted to leave my job, and I just decided to fully commit to it. I wrote down everywhere, I'm going to leave my job, work for myself, and be doing something that I love. And I had no idea what that was at the beginning of 2018. And I wrote it everywhere, and I said to my wife, I'm leaving my job by the end of the year. And like a long story short, a series of different things happened. I met these people, and I left my job that year, and started doing like resilience training for corporate companies. And then, when I just decided to step into my power really and be like, nah, I'm gonna step into being who I believe I will be. And it worked. Yeah. It worked, yeah. My life changed, you know.
And was finance ever a thing that you was like focusing on within that, or was it just to be successful?
Not originally finance, but not money as such, but
because I know people don't like talking about money in the spiritual community.
And it's something that
we really want to champion, like talk about. It's important.
I was £17,000 in debt when I quit drinking, right? And I had no home, didn't own it. I was living on a fold-out bed in my mum's house. I am not driven by money, but I'm driven by wanting nice things for me and my family. And we live in a capitalist society, and I'm not against capitalism either, by the way. I run a business, right? Yeah. I think hyper-capitalism is a problem, which is profit over everything. I think that causes...
I think heart-centered capitalism is a beautiful way, because if you're doing
a 1 day's work and you're getting paid the same as someone who's doing 5 days work. There's something out of balance
Yeah,
there.
and when you look at like the history of it and socialism and stuff like that, I always think that we need some kind of structure. And I think the capitalist structure
And you need
works.
to be rewarded for your hard work.
Yeah. I think that. And then I think when you are rewarded for your hard work, you do your best to look after the people who are less fortunate or don't have the capabilities for whatever reason to not be where you are. And I do that, and I do that a lot. But look, I took my kids to bloody Disneyland a couple of years ago. Do you know what I mean? I don't do that without money.
Exactly.
And I am motivated by pictures of me and my kids stood in front of Disneyland Castle.
Yeah.
And it felt fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It felt amazing, yeah.
And you couldn't have done that when you was 17 grand in debt.
No.
It's not possible.
No.
You made it happen.
And also, I do like so much sort of charitable, I go into schools, I do a lot of free stuff, right? I do a lot of things for people at no cost whatsoever. And I do that because I'm able to earn money other places.
If you want to start your cacao journey today, head over to www.fullpowercacao.com, and to get 11% off your first order, use the code FULLPOWER2012 at checkout and start to feel that full power vibration today. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm able to do it.
At the festival, you would have had a really amazing impact on some of the people who come to your breathwork. You could have shifted something in somebody within that breathwork that they've been holding on to for 15 years. And I assure you, that person would have paid £4,000 to have that emotion removed from them, because now they feel empowered to go and do the shit in their life that they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're giving so much value within those sessions. That's what we do with the cacao ceremonies with our events. It's like, we know we're giving an abundance of value beyond that. And there was a good book that I read, I think it was called The Fast Lane Millionaire, or the Sidewalker or something, by this guy called MJ DeMarco. I don't know if you've read him.
I think I've heard of it.
And he talks about, when you are selling a product or a service, as long as you are giving 7 times the value of what that person is paying for that, you're going to be super successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that, like we talked about this earlier, there's charlatans out there. Yeah? There's people that are charging fucking loads of money for nothing and giving no value, right? And not supporting people. And they're driven solely by numbers.
Yeah.
I know I'm not driven by that. I'm always at the heart of everything that I do. And I can look anybody in the eye and say that because I know it to be true.
Yeah.
At the heart of everything I do is to want to help give people a better life and a better existence. And I want to do it in a way that's accessible and reachable for everybody. And I do that within the systems that we live in. So you have to find a way to do that to make it financially viable as well.
Exactly, man. And you're showing that person that it's within them. It's not through you that they get that. You're just showing them it's in them that they've got the skills, that they've got the gifts.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So, rock bottom. When was rock bottom?
That was that 9 months. That 9 months after I quit drinking. And that was when I just didn't really see anywhere else to go. That was when it really felt like there was nothing else left for me.
And is that when you were on the floor in your mum's house
I was
in debt?
Yeah.
And do you feel that having that space to go to, because on a lot of the teachers' journeys, a lot of spiritual teachers, Muji especially, and a lot of people that I study, there was this place where they went back home for a period of time, and almost like I was fucked, I was lost, but I got looked after in this space, and that allowed me to figure a lot of stuff out. Yeah. Was that kind of one of those moments of like...
Yeah, there was a bit of that,
grounding.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, but also as well, like it remains something in my head where I'm able to think, I'm going to go for this because I can't... It won't go low. I
can't lose anything.
I can't go anywhere from there. I won't go any deeper than that.
I
won't go any lower than that. And so it'll never be that, or it might be that bad, but it won't be worse. So there's a lot of that in it.
And how do you feel about like rock bottom? Because I know a lot of people are scared of rock bottom. What's your opinion of rock bottom?
I've always said rock bottom is like the foundation on which the rest of my life has been built. But rock bottom doesn't necessarily have to look so tragic. Rock bottom is when I am no longer able to live the way that I'm living, and I'm now also willing to accept a completely new way. And I think when those two things line up, they can, you know, you don't have to be on a fold out bed at your mum's house necessarily for that to happen. But if you can line those two things up, then you've got a chance of something different, haven't you?
Yeah, then you can go for it.
Yeah.
So we were chatting before about, like, you know, the craziness of your life growing up, and basically the craziness that you was creating. So how was that like? You talked before about your dad. How old was you when your dad passed?
9.
You was 9 when your dad passed, and did that? Obviously, that had a massive effect on you.
Yeah, I think it did, but I didn't realise the effect, right? Because we did what any British family would do, which is swept it under the carpet, and within a week of it happening, pretending it hadn't happened.
Right, okay.
And
was your mum and dad still together at that time?
Nah, he went to prison when I was like 5, and then he came out of prison when I was like 8, so we used to go and visit him in a flat. But yeah, look, after that, yeah, of course it affected me, massively. But mainly in like anger. I was angry all the time in the end. Because there was no space for sadness. Yeah. You know what I mean? We didn't do sadness. So that led me into like what you would now call gangs in today's world. We didn't call it gangs, but I was hanging about down the park doing drugs in groups of youths and stuff. And then football violence eventually when I was in my late teens. But it was all the same thing, you know? We talked about this, I think, before we came on air, but looking for purpose and meaning and community and being part of something. It's the same things that I know of to be of value in my life today that I do in a healthy way, I was searching for and getting close to, but just in a dysfunctional way when I was younger.
Yeah, because when you don't have a family or a strong family unit, and then you say you do go and join a gang and you're doing crime or whatever you're doing drugs, but you're feeling part of something. It's like, these guys have got my back. We kind of love each other in a way. We're a team, we're a community, even though you're doing bad shit, but it feels better than what it feels like having nothing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I understand how people fall into these ways of being. And like, I know when I was growing up, like playing football, people were like, why is it so violent? It's like, well, because most of these kids are from broken homes. We've got like, we all live in a council estate. There's fucking mad shit going on everywhere all the time. The police are everywhere. None of us feels. Ultimately, that's what I figured out like about 6 months ago. I said to my missus, I was like, I've never felt safe. I've never ever felt safe. And I said, like, living with her and our kids, I feel safe. And I was like, I've never felt safe before. I was like, that's really interesting, isn't it? And then I realised all them other kids, none of them felt safe. So we would go and play football and kick the fuck out of each other. Do you know what I mean? For 90 minutes. And that was like a release. That was before you took drugs and you was drinking. That was your release, was I'm going to go and kick people and fight. You know, especially testosterone-filled kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's it. And it's like, it becomes your release, your sanctuary, right? It's where what you don't feel equipped to be able to release gets a space to be released. So it comes out, And football in our culture has always been an expression of that. When there's more trouble on the terraces, it's normally an overspill of what's going on in society.
Would you feel Pep's changed that quite a bit?
What has he changed?
I mean, because we, as a football, the way football's played now, and I've noticed it because I just started playing football again. And I'm just rushing in and kicking people.
You can't smash people anymore.
And it's like, they're all passing. And I'm like, what, can I not just... And they're like, no, you can only shoot from inside the box. I was like, I want to smash it.
I blame Pep for a lot of my yellow cards that I still get today, actually.
No, but do you know what I mean? There's this, it's more of it's like, right, we want to play this game. We want to be respectful. We want to actually love our opponents, but we want to beat them. Do you know what? And I think that's beautiful.
It's bringing in a different culture, isn't it? It's bringing in a slightly different culture, which is not... sort of so, I think a lot of European cultures tend to be better than us in their emotional expression, aren't they? We're stiff as anything.
Aggressive, go and kick people.
Because we don't have anywhere else to express that. So of course it comes out in football. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that's true in every culture.
No, Italian, Spanish, it's like expressive. It's like we communicate, we let our emotions out. When we don't store it up, it's like, let it out. You know what I mean? It's like this feistiness that comes, we see it as feistiness, and it's actually, no, they're releasing emotion. So, obviously like, growing up, let's just quickly go into because we chatted about it before, your kind of like toxicness of drinking, being in a relationship, starting having kids. Like, how was that then? How did that all?
Well, it was just crazy. Like, I was everything that you shouldn't be when you're a father and we were married, or a husband, you know?
Yeah.
Like my first daughter was born when I was 18, you know? I was a child.
Yeah.
I was a child. Do you know what I mean? I still hadn't worked out how to look after myself, let alone start trying to look after kids. So I went running, really. I sort of went running from my responsibilities and from my life.
Yeah.
With drink and drugs and... it wasn't just drink, it was Class A drugs a lot then in them sort of early days when my kids were young. And I just couldn't show up. I couldn't show up because I couldn't be, like you said, I couldn't be safe in my body, I couldn't be safe in myself, so I wasn't able to provide any safety for my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel that, knowing what you went through and the stuff that you had to heal and release, do you feel that your older daughters, is it daughters, both?
Yeah.
Do you feel that they're going to have some stuff because of what they went through
100%.
super young? And do you feel that do you feel it's for you to support them or for them to find their own path within that?
I think a bit of both. So I had 4 kids in that relationship. So my 2 boys are 13 and 12 as well. And so they're going to have their own struggles. You have to let them go on their own journeys of discovery. And when they're ready and when they do, we need to start looking at stuff. What I hope is that they feel like they will be able to come with me, to me, and talk about where I let them down. And they'll have a parent in me who will be able to do a bit of work with them and alongside them and be like, I'm willing to hear that, I'm willing to validate that, and I'm willing to support you and give you whatever you need from me on that journey of discovery from that. But I certainly can't be like telling them not to drink or don't do alcohol, don't do this, don't go down that path. You have to let them go and then be there and be there,
Yeah, man. Well, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Look forward to like observing your journey more and more. I'm actually feeling really emotional now. Just sat with you, I feel like I just tuned into your energy, and I feel like you're a really beautiful human being and like you, cosmic being, like a brother, like interplanetary, multi-dimensional brother. So like really respect all the work you're doing, everything that you've been through. Like can see so many similarities within our journeys, and I just want to really kind of say I'm proud of you. I think what you're doing is incredible, and just looking forward to everything that you bring into the world, man. And just keep most importantly, just keep being you, man, because it's you's perfect. Right. Thank you, man. Same to you, man. Like, we sort of hit it off, didn't we, when I got here today? Yeah, man.
So,
Totally. And how can people find you? How do people? So, where did he get the book?
Just go to my website, joshconnolly.co.uk. Everything's there. My book, my social media, and everything else that I'm up to is always on the website.
And anything exciting coming up?
So I'm working on these community spaces. So I'm trying to find a way to be able to do big events with breathwork at the heart of them, but that are really accessible price point and just about bringing people together in what is now old school community, which is just coming together for no other reason than to come together and be together. So that's what's coming up. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Yeah. Thank you very much, brother. Lots of love, man.
Thank you.
Matthias. Peace, blessings, love.